Have you ever experienced something like this? You practiced incredibly hard at home on your digital piano, but the moment you step onto the stage and play a grand piano, wait, why does this feel so unfamiliar and difficult? It's clearly the same piece, your hands are the same, and you're the same person. But suddenly, the touch feels awkward. Controlling the volume is a struggle, and your entire performance feels shaky. To be honest, I used to have the exact same experience. I spent a long time practicing solely on a digital piano, and then, during a lesson in front of my teacher, I just couldn't play the way I wanted to. I remember being so flustered. Of course, digital pianos have so many great advantages. You don't have to worry about noise, the price is reasonable, and they take up much less space. That's why I still use one very effectively today. However, if you look closely from the perspective of a classical pianist, there are definitely a few disappointing limitations. So today, I want to talk about the things classical piano students might be missing out on without even realizing it when they practice on a digital piano. Especially the last flaw. It's something that surprisingly many people overlook. So, make sure to watch today's video until the very end. When choosing a digital piano, the very first question many people ask is, are the keys heavy? They assume they need that heavy weight, just like a classical acoustic piano, to get proper practice. But ironically, after practicing only on a digital piano, when you switch to a real piano, the keys feel like they're floating or sliding around, and the sound can come across as harsh and tinny. Why does this happen? When you press a key on a real piano, there is a distinct depth of travel where complex wooden parts inside create a chain reaction as you press deeper. On the other hand, digital pianos use springs or counterweights, so they only feel heavy at the initial press. Once you push them all the way down, it just feels like hitting a hard bottom. Because of this difference in depth, if you only get used to a digital piano, it's easy to lose that fingertip sensitivity needed to create the deep, rich resonance of a real piano. It's not that your technique is lacking, it's just a natural result of adapting to an instrument with a completely different mechanism. The second flaw is where the sound actually starts. The moment you press a key on a real piano, the massive wooden body right in front of you vibrates entirely, enveloping your whole body in sound. We don't just hear it with our ears. We control the dynamics by feeling the music through our toes, fingertips, and the vibrations in the air. But what about a digital piano? No matter how excellently the piano sounds are sampled, the sound ultimately comes out of small speakers located underneath or behind the keyboard. And if you wear headphones, the sound is blasted right next to your ears. As a result, it's easy for your sense of handling sound three-dimensionally to become dull. While you can still express basic loud and soft dynamics, there is a critical limit when it comes to studying rich tonal colors that fill a space, which is the very heart of classical music. The third and final flaw is the pedal, which can be called the soul of classical music. When practicing on a digital piano, have you ever felt that when you step on the pedal, the sound either gets completely muddied up or, conversely, becomes way too choppy? The pedal of a real piano is incredibly subtle and delicate. The resonance changes completely depending on whether you press it a quarter of the way down, halfway down, or when you release it. This tiny nuance completely shifts the color of the piece. However, the pedals on many digital pianos function almost like an on-off switch. You press it, it's on. You release it, it's off. Of course, many models these days feature a half-pedal function for micro-adjustments, but it is still very difficult to replicate that lingering, poetic resonance that happens when a real piano string slowly comes to a stop. If you get into the habit of pedaling carelessly on a digital piano, your performance on a real piano can instantly become a messy disaster. So those are the three major flaws of practicing on a digital piano. But if you're thinking, does that mean I should never use a digital piano? Absolutely not. If your space is tight, your budget is limited, or especially if you have to practice late at night, a digital piano is an excellent choice with no real alternative. Furthermore, the limitations I mentioned earlier are being beautifully overcome by various modern technologies, and premium models actually offer a highly satisfying playing experience. On our channel, we dive deep into these various interesting technologies and digital piano models. So if you want to be the first to uncover the secrets of digital pianos that others don't know, don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. It will make your musical life so much richer. And if you're currently thinking, I should look into a budget-friendly digital piano that's good for practice, make sure to check out the video link I've pinned in the comments below before you make a decision. To keep it simple, I pinpoint exactly 3 things to look for, and I also share some great tips on how to upgrade your digital piano's sound like a pro. Well then, have a wonderful practice session today. Thank you.